my name is Kirsty and today I am going to be making a bustier style cottagecore inspired dress for you today. I am using a old duvet cover. It's never actually been used on a bedding. Recently I've been trying to sort of use what I have because, you know, that's probably better. So I'm using the Rose Cafe Bustier pattern. It's a very popular pattern recently, a very popular indie pattern. So I'm using that for the bodice, and I'm also using a skirt pattern from this one here. I actually I've used this a couple of times and hopefully match the seams on the bustier onto the seams of the skirt. So with that all said, let's get into it. I have my bustier pieces all laid out and pinned onto my fabric. I'll be cutting a shell and a lining for this bustier. And with mine, I had to sort of adjust sizings, and the pattern really does provide you with all the information you need to do this. I also interfaced all of the shell bustier pieces, so they're just a bit more structured and strong. I'm just cutting out all of my skirt pieces. These are, I think that's around 8 panels here, so just sort of cutting them all out. It's a fun time. And with these pieces, I actually marked where I want the skirt to end, so then I have like all of the same length on all of the panels, so I'm just transferring that before I cut it out. So jumping right into the construction of the bustier, I'm sewing the 2 side front pieces, the centerpiece, right sides together, the back pieces and the side back pieces we're sewing together. And here we have the cut pieces that we're sewing together. Here are my back pieces. I'm just going to sew the side seams now. And here's just a look of how I am top stitching the seams once they're pressed open. Just moving my needle a little bit to the left and using the center of the presser foot to guide me into making a nice straight line. To help me visualize what I was doing next, I took the paper pieces to make sure I had them the right way. And I'm going to be finishing this cup by sewing this strip along the top and curving it around the curve as well, so using a lot of pins here. And then again, I am top stitching that seam once it's pressed, and it's looking more like a bustier. Jumping to the skirt, I'm sewing all of the skirt pieces together, right sides together, So here's the center front piece. I'm sewing the side front pieces to it on the sides. With all of these skirt panels, I had to flatline them, which is basically getting a lining piece and just tacking them together. And I had to do this because, well, one, it makes it nice and like a heavy drape. It's quite sturdy. And second, because my duvet was constructed of like all these different panels, so there's lots of seams, which you can see here on this panel. You can see the line going down, which was one of the seams on the duvet cover. So I just kind of used the backside of the duvet when I was cutting these out as the lining, and as you can see, it's the same situation for the lining, but it sort of encloses them all really nicely without having to do much. So that's what I'm doing. So yeah, let's get back to constructing the panels. And with the seam where we're going to add the zipper, I am actually overlocking this beforehand. As you can hear, it sounds a bit violent, but that's just the way it is with overlockers. So that's that side overlocked, and I'm doing the same to this piece. And I will stitch from this point to the bottom, leaving the top open. My pattern did actually come with a notch where I should, you know, leave space for the zipper, so just bearing that in mind. And I'm sewing the side back pieces. So now we have the front and back pieces all constructed. I'm taking them and putting them right sides together and sewing the side seams. Here I made a crucial step of forgetting to put in the pockets, so we'll be doing that later, and I'll explain how I did that. First try on, I think it's looking quite good. I have my quilt cover, the leftovers of it. I'm going to be using a lot of it for maybe cushion covers or just other things, because I didn't realize I would have this much left. Anyway, it came with this sort of peachy ruffle around the edges of the whole duvet cover, so I'm going to be using all of this as the straps, or like the ribbons for the bodice, and I'm going to be using it to finish off the bottom of the skirt. So I've unpicked all of that ruffle from the duvet cover, and I am creating 2 long basting stitches along the top so I can make my own gather. So I pin the ruffle right sides together along the circumference of the bottom of the skirt. And to make this easy for myself, I am just going to overlock this. So here's a little look on how it's looking with the ruffle. I actually top stitched this after my overlocking just to make sure it was going to lie really flat and nicely when it's hanging. Here's the part where I completely forgot to put in the pockets, so I'm cutting out 4 pocket pieces. And this is just my favorite pocket pattern that I found. I overlocked each piece and I am unpicking the side seams. I've unpicked the side seam partially, and then I have measured from the waistline to where I want the pockets to start, and then pinned right sides together the pocket to the front side piece and the back side piece. Once we've sewn the pockets on the side seams, I actually did a top stitch here as well, just to keep it lying this way. So to finish off, we'll sew with 1 centimeter down here, then around the pocket, and then just finishing off this tiny area that then goes into the seam we created earlier. That's already finished. And there we go, we have a pocket. We couldn't go without having a pocket. I jumped ahead and pinned my bustier to the waistline of the skirt, right sides together, matching up all the seams. Next, I'm taking my zipper and measuring how long I want it to be and marking that on my zipper with a pin, and I'm also leaving about 1 centimeter from the top so we can finish off the top of the bodice later. The bustier pattern does give a really good YouTube video on how to do things like install a really good invisible zipper, which I highly recommend, so I will link it down in the description below. This really helped me a lot. To make the straps, I am taking that ruffle strip that we used earlier and I'm folding it in half and iron that down. Once that is all stitched, I am taking my tube and I'm just cleaning it up by cutting the excess fabric away just right up to the stitch line. Taking my loop turner and pulling that all the way through, catching it and then pulling it right sides out. I made 4 of these and I'm going to attach them to the back and just tack them down. I also cut it on a slight angle because we want it to be facing outwards. And doing the same on the other side of the back bodice. Once they're in place, I have my lining piece and I'm putting that right sides together onto the shell piece. and I'm going to be sewing all the way around the top neckline of the bodice piece, as well as all of the curves and dips of the bustier area. Once that is sewn, I am cutting away all the excess, especially in the corners, just cutting really carefully and making sure there's no excess bulk. I'm also clipping the bustier curves just to make sure that the curves turn out really smooth when I turn it right side out. Here's what it looks like turned out and pressed. I'm just quickly finishing off the zipper with the lining, sewing that lining down to the zipper, right sides together. We've turned that all out. It should look something like this. I'm taking the bottom of the lining and I am pressing that up about 1 centimeter, and I'm going to be hand stitching this to the waistline. Alright, now moving on to the bustier cups. I'm showing the straps to the corners, just hand tacking that in place. Then I'm taking my lining piece of the cups and pinning that along the top edge, right sides together. I've gone ahead and understitched this as well to make sure that the lining stays hidden, I guess. It's a really good technique for this. I lost the footage for finishing off the dress, but I overlocked the bottom edge of the cups, overlocking the lining and the shell together. I also top stitched the cups into the bodice. So here's the final dress. I really hope you enjoyed this video and watching me make this dress. I had a lot of fun and I really recommend both the patterns I worked with. I hope you have a lovely day and I hope to see you very soon. Okay? Alright, take care. Bye.